Welcome.
We have an amazing podcast today with Weaving Magick Podcast and Your Spiritual Besties. We're so excited.
Yeah,
It's
and it
4
feels
people.
like a party.
It does. 4 people, 1 episode. It's going to be chaos.
Everyone
It's
just
going to be
froze
magic. It's
up
going to be
on me.
amazing.
Well,
Do what?
I think everyone just froze up.
We
Can you hear us okay?
Yeah, now I can.
Okay, yeah,
Sorry.
the videos may freeze up just because of how it records, but if you can still hear us, it's all good.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the countdown went from 5 to 2, and I was like, that was quick.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. Technology is not our friend today, but that's okay. We're going to work through it.
We love technology. Awesome.
Yeah.
So, we have a question, and I'm curious. I think it'll get conversation started, and I'd love to hear y'all's question too. But, Lauren, Rashida, how do y'all weave magic into your daily life?
Go ahead, Lauren.
I'll go. Yeah. So I love this question, and I think in so many ways, I'll answer with what's like pertinent right now, which is I'm really like getting my green witch on this year. So
Hell yes.
yeah. I've always been kind of a brown thumb, but I'm like really determined to learn and embody this green witch archetype this year. So we have a big community garden, and I have a nice big plot in there, and like everything's growing right now, which is really exciting. We started a fairy garden in our front yard for my daughter Gemma. And I have a little herb garden out back. So we're growing all the things, and I'm so excited to like make medicine for my family and grow our food and really just like get my hands in that. And I feel like it's just giving me so much life, and I'm gaining so much wisdom from this whole process. And it might seem like the most mundane thing, like people have been growing food for thousands of years, but it truly is like just a testament of faith. Like I'm putting this little seed in the ground, like let's see it grow. And then I don't know, every single day I go and check the garden, and it's just magical seeing it grow for real. What about you, Rashida?
Yeah, so I love hearing all about your gardening, Lauren, so much because it's like, oh man, this is exciting. But for me, how I weave magic in my everyday life is like you talked about the mundane, right? Like just finding those moments in time that might seem that it's just simple. Like I do this every day, but trying to go like deeper into that, like I think I talked about it on our podcast before. We have this birdhouse on our window, and each and every time Maciana's like, it's a bird, having that excitement, it just creates more magic in my life and more excitement. And it just makes me just really excited to like be here in this time, in this moment. So just finding more depth in my everyday is how I weave magic into my life.
I think
I want to circle back to a couple things. Yeah. So gardening, I love that that's what you're focusing on, because it is I feel like when you get into plants and growing, there's so much more like there's life lessons that come at you as you're like in the dirt and planting the seeds, and when you're sowing.
But there's also a difference
intention.
between planting, like having your own inside plants that for me die versus the outside. Like the outside, my husband was like really hesitant about the whole, I don't know if you want a garden, you haven't really like had a good...
Oh my gosh, he was so hesitant. I got to be there for that.
It was great. And then my garden's like massively growing because the plants outside are thriving so much better than the ones inside. I don't know what that says about our environment anyways. But like there's
That's
a difference.
Later topic. We'll put a pin in that.
We'll reverse that one. There's a difference between like indoor and outdoor plants, and also like getting your hands actually in the dirt, right? Versus, I don't know, they're both dirt, but one feels more Mother
Grounded?
Earth. Yeah.
Well, you have that. I think that is because you have like that direct connection to Mama Gaia. Inside we have our plants and our pots, right? That's that barrier. And it's still, they're still connected, right? But when you're outside in the ground, in the soil, like really working, you have the worms and all the things that are just creating this environment. Like the connection, I feel like, is deeper in that way.
Yeah. Also, the environment is perfectly set up to grow. Like that's how things evolved, right? Sunlight and water, who knew? Whereas inside you have such a controlled environment, even like starting seeds this year and using like grow lights and stuff. It just is not the same as getting plants outside in the sun. And even like, so our garden, we water with creek water. We like use a motor to pump it out of the creek, and it does really well. But when it actually rains and the garden receives like the water that it's meant to, it's just different. And I don't know how to explain that, or like what are the different elements in it, but that's been really cool. I've also loved, and we'll ask you our question here in a second, but I just want to like get real weird right off the bat.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. I've just like really loved, I've been using like a Diva cup for a long time, for like a decade probably, but like, besides moon masks or something, like being able to put my blood like in the ground with our plants and nourish them with that has been a really cool, like connective, magical process too.
I have a little watering can that sits next to my toilet for when I'm on my moon. I just like dump out a little water and go water my plants. I'm totally here for that.
Yeah.
I started that last month when I got mine back. I started that last month, and my plants are like so happy. It's crazy. Like,
it's wild.
It's crazy. So I love it. My husband was like, "You're doing what?"
Yeah, we don't talk about it.
I love him. He's like, "Okay, I
guess.
This
is the food we're eating that comes nourished with my blood. Like,
I have to share this because I also had a conversation with my husband before doing this, just to warn him, I guess. But he's
inform him.
I did not inform, so you did more than I did.
Oh my gosh. Well, I knew he would get it. Like he's a hobbit at heart. Like he's the happiest, growing things and cooking and eating. Like that's him. But I was like, hey, remember last year when you were trying to deter geese from our yard and you would put your urine on the yard?
Oh.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Which everyone was like making fun of him for, because I guess it's like marking territory or something. So we have a real geese problem in our neighborhood. And I'm like, so remember that? So this is what I'm doing. I'm also collecting bodily fluids to put on our property. And he
I
was
love
like,
that so much. I love it.
I'm like, look at this
It's
article.
like it's the protecting, and then it's like the nourishing of the, like, I love it. The balance works so well. My husband would like flip out if I said, go pee on our military yard, but please. My kids do.
I kind of want you to ask him to do that now.
Daniel would have no problem doing it here. He does it every time we're outside. I'm like, what, are you okay? Cool. Yeah, don't go inside. It's fine.
Penis havers just love peeing whenever they
do,
wherever they can.
I just can't imagine. My brain cannot wrap my mind around it. I don't know. I'm all about going out in nature, but I hate peeing in nature. It is not my favorite thing in the world. It's so awkward. You end up getting it everywhere, and maybe I just don't have the right steps that I'm following. I don't know.
It takes a lot of
plus poison ivy is a big no-no.
I do pretty well, because we have 32 acres out here, and when nature calls, like, you just gotta go. However, I'm always worried about a bug biting my butt. That's the only thing I'm worried about. Just don't
I
bite
have like this fear of like snakes or things coming out of the toilet. So like even in the woods, I feel like it's even more valid.
Tara, I literally saw, like, I don't know if it was like an Instagram or a video where that happened. And for like 3 months, I would check my toilet, lift up the lid, look around, and be like, okay, it's safe to sit down. But they come through the drains, so even if it was nothing in there. Yeah. Sorry, guys, not to scare you about your toilets and snakes.
Yeah, thanks.
And mine's only at nighttime too, and like I can't see it, and I'm like, pregnant peeing.
Oh my
gosh. And it's like, just go really fast.
In and out.
Yeah. The other day, we're potty training right now, both my children 2 and 4, and I set Lincoln down on the big boy potty, and then I set Aurora on like the toddler potty, and I pick him up to wipe, and there's a spider in the toilet. I'm like, oh, that was there the whole time? That's cool. It's fine. Everything's fine. Nothing happened. It was just a daddy long leg. It was harmless, but it was terrifying. So we're talking about horror stories. There we go. There you have it.
You know, they're
seems...
they're actually not called daddy long legs. They're called like gray fathers or something like that. Gray beard fathers.
Really?
Learned it from homeschooling.
You know what's wild to me is I used to play with them as a kid. I would hold them, and I loved daddy long legs, and now I'm so terrified. I need to. There's healing to be done there.
If you pick them up by one leg, which I know is it hurts them, but their leg will actually intentionally pop off so they can save themselves. Like it's like an intentional thing.
It's like the tails of lizards. They do that too.
But
they just like release their tail.
It never goes back. They just have 5 legs. 8, sit 5. Do they have 8 legs?
8.
8.
Do they have 8 legs? They have 8 legs?
I don't know.
They don't have 8 legs.
No, they have 6.
Spiders?
I was reading the book and this. Yeah, but this is different because
The
they're
gray
like
fathers.
the gray father. Like they're actually not full-blooded spiders.
Wow, I learned all kinds of new things.
I have to look this up later. But yeah, like in the book that we read for our homeschooling, it's like, now you're 5 legs, and now I'm realizing like it's not 8 to 7, it's 6 to 5.
Yeah, I don't think they're 8. Yeah,
I didn't think so.
That's wild. I want to circle back to another thing because I'm that person. Rashida, I want to circle it back around. I want to go to your answer about how you weave magic, and I love that you look for mundane things, and I was curious on little ways that you do that as a parent, because I feel like Tara and I talk about this on the podcast a lot. As a parent, we see all of these people out there that have these 2-hour morning rituals and have all of this time, and as parents it's just really unrealistic. So I want to hear more about how you make magic in the mundane. I would love to hear you too, Lauren, talk about it as well.
Yeah, so me, it's just like really, really being present. And I think our kiddos allow us to really tap into like presence. You know, we go through our every day and we're just sometimes just going through the motions, but our children are always like now, like it's always now for them. And so tapping into that, especially with my daughter, Macy, allows me to just like pick up on different things and like really be in the moment and really cherish like what special moment and time it is. Like, for instance, you know, our kids grow. That's what they're going to do. They're going to become full-blown adults, and we're going to, you know, be so sad about it. But, like, really tapping into, like, those transitions. Like, I was talking to Lauren about this a few months ago. Like, somewhere it happened, and I was a witness to it. But Macy went from this, like, baby to this, like, little child. And, like, really being in that transition and, like, seeing that moment. Like, yeah, she's growing. Her foot size is bigger. Her clothes size are bigger. But, like, seeing this, like, no longer a baby, little girl, like, that's so magical. And I get to witness that. I see her every single day. And I think sometimes when we see things every single day, it gets to be a bit normal. But, like, really honing in on those moments and those transitions. Like, that's how I create the magic in my life. And then also, like, routine, like, yeah, there's no routine anymore. It's like, what can I do in this moment? Like, I will sit and breathe a few moments, or I will like go outside and walk with Miles and just take in the nature. Like, my routines now look so different. And I think you have to. And I think that's the power of us moms. Like, we get to like really show how flexible we are. So
yeah, we started doing happy flap dance in the morning. So we turn on some music and then we run around and do weird noises and flap around. My kids have really enjoyed that, and that's been a really magical practice in the morning for us. And I feel like it's helped bond us and normalize stimming a little bit in our house as well. So it's been, I feel like that's one of the...
Have they watched Happy Feet?
We just watched it for the first time, and Lincoln is
It makes you think of like
obsessed.
Happy Feet, yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah. I could see him doing it.
Aurora was doing it more than Lincoln was, surprisingly. She is all about the stomping.
So cute.
Yeah, I haven't done that one yet because I could hear the upstairs of my 4 boys stomping. I'm holding off.
I can't
Lauren,
watch that
about you?
movie. First, I'll just say Happy Feet gives me a panic attack. There's something about how realistic the penguins are that just like really disturbs me.
Yeah.
Lauren, I learned something new every day about you. I love it.
I don't know why. Like, it really upset me. So for me, like, I was that person for sure with like 2-hour morning routine, and I've been a yoga teacher slash studio owner, like spiritual entrepreneur for a long time. So I've been able to like build my days. And yeah, I had ridiculous amounts of time looking back to care for myself and to connect. But when I became a mom, it was like, oh, like this is what all of that practice is for. Like this is the actual, like, not that life wasn't real or something like that before, but like every day I'm being tested and my strength is being tested. I'm figuring out who I am, and I have all of these amazing like spiritual practices to help me gain the wisdom from these moments and to like handle them with grace. So I guess now things look a lot different. I have these little like moments of deep connection when I have some time to myself, but really like it's seeing things through her eyes. That's super magical. Like, I don't know, to be able to like not be a jaded adult and like really see things for what they are, which is difficult to do because I think that's just how our brains work. Like we're like, okay, that tree's over there. Now I know it's there, whatever. But to like be able to spend time with a tree and like see it through a child's eyes and like really see how wonderful and magical it is. That's been such a really like beautiful opportunity through having kids. And man, it's hard as hell, but it's truly like the best thing. And I know I've personally grown so much from it, as have all of us, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, I feel like it's deep in not only how you show up as a parent, but how you show up to parent yourself, because there's so much inner child healing that happens through
I mean,
parenting.
the triggers that come from kids.
Yeah.
Because
And I do.
they're just being themselves. I get so triggered by that sometimes. It's like, oh,
Clicking their pencils and you're like, ugh, like they're just enjoying, like it's normal, it's fine. Why is this grating on my brain? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, I was in the store the other day, and like to even witness like my growth, like because when you start like this path, you get to see like the change in you. And I was in the store the other day with by myself. Oh, it was a magical, but
That's crazy. Wild story already.
yeah, right. And there was I'm just gonna assume two dads, and they had or two friends with their kids in the cart, and the one little girl had her hand on the outside, and the friend came around and accidentally smushed her hand. And it was really sad. And of course, like she's probably like Macy's age. I mean, and it is a big, like, I mean, when we stub our toe, it's a big deal, but we like hold it in because we're taught to do that. But anyway, so she's just releasing, and the dad's like, shh, quiet, it's okay, you're okay. Shh. And in that moment for me, I was like, and not to say anything to him because I used to do that, but it's like, why do we do that? Why do we silence that?
Oh, the conditioning.
Yeah.
Yes,
Well, and for
like,
our own nervous systems, like, oh, this is bothering me, so I'm going to tell my kid to be quiet. At least that's why I do it sometimes.
And I think it's also the fear of like we're trying to heal their problem immediately. We don't want them to have a problem. We're trying to fix it, because if we can fix it, then it's like kids can't have any issues going on. We can't either. We have to fix our problems, and we're perfect.
Yeah, that moment just had me thinking like, man, we do this every single day, not only to our children, but to ourselves. And it's one of those things too. Now when Macy has an outburst or whatever the case may be, even if we're out, first of all, I don't give a what anyone says to me about my kid. I'm going to let her go through the motions. So if it's a little bit bothersome, I'm sorry, but she's allowed to feel the way she wants to feel. And I think like that's for us too. Like we are allowed to feel the way we want to feel, and we should feel okay in that. But yeah, that was just a little side note. And I did want to come back to you, Lauren, when you said, this was preparing me for my now. I was very new into spirituality. Like Macy actually was my catalyst for stepping into this space. So if you are someone who is new to spirituality and you haven't had like those years and years of practices, this is why it's so important to like get with a group of maybe moms who are on the same path that you are, to really support you. Because even like my connection with Lauren, I'll say things, I'll be like, girl, I don't know what I am doing, what's happening, what do you think? And because she's had those years of experience, she can give me those suggestions. So yeah, I always like to put it out there. I always come from like the newbie spirituality lens.
It's so true, because that's the same for me too. My catalyst is right after I had my son, and I was being very triggered, and my inner child healing kind of journey is what like stepped me forward. So I never got to, like, I tried to do the deep 2-hour practices, but it was never realistic to sustain. And I always thought it was a problem with me, when really it was, okay, this is not where I'm at in my life right now, and my practice is going to look different. But we don't see a lot of parental representation, I feel like, in the spiritual community. A lot of it is, or when it is, I don't know, because there are, but I feel like they don't show like, with their kids. Like, you don't see the day-to-day, you see the curated version of their day. And for me, that's not relatable.
Yeah, for me, it's been really important to show up with her. I mean, I haven't really had a choice but to do that, especially having her during the pandemic and doing a lot of teaching online and stuff. It's just such a part of how I do things now. She's included in almost everything. I also think that, you know, as parents, we have a lack of support, just societally. I'll use that as a blanket statement. And like, how are we supposed to be? I mean, we're all examples of people who are creating and putting stuff out there, but it's hard as hell. And people who have all day to create and curate their social media and stuff, they just have that bigger amount of representation, I guess, because they have the time and the capacity.
Well, and it's not just that too. I feel like there's this weird standard in spiritual communities, because I can't tell you how many events, like online events, especially during COVID, that I went to, they were like, you have to have cameras on and you can't have distractions. And if you're a parent, you owe yourself the time away from your kids. And it was like this shame feeling, right?
Like why can't I
yeah, like what? And why can't my kids be a part of this experience? And how can we create spiritual environments and experiences where they're allowed to join us?
I mean, while it's also valid to have that space, it is very important to have that space to yourself. But also, if the kid comes in, even while you're having space, my kid's going to take priority over me.
Yeah, and I have it where my door, well, they're not open right now because we're recording. My husband is with them. But when I'm working during the day, my doors are open. If my kid wants to come and give me a hug while I'm on a call, they're going to come give me a hug. If they want to come tell me something, I want them to always have that freedom. And so I feel like people like us are creating this new paradigm shift of how you're allowed to show up. I can teach yoga and my kids can be in here climbing all over me while I do it. I can show up as a coach, and this is a big thing. So a lot of like training and certifications for coaches, they tell you, you have to have this environment where there's no interruptions because you look unprofessional. No, I'm a human being. And my kids are allowed to show up. This is real life. And I've even heard people in certifications I've been in that are like, I don't know how to coach parents because they're always distracted. I'm like, no, parents know how to tend to their kids and listen to you. You're the one that's uncomfortable.
Yes.
So let's get into that.
That was my first experience when I became a coach. I had so many moms that I was coaching, and, you know, at first they would apologize. I'm so sorry I had to do this. And we should not have to apologize for parenting our children. And me personally, I do have to have my child away when I'm coaching because I get distracted. I haven't figured that part out yet, but that's also probably how my brain works and my mind works. So, but if you have your child, I am perfectly fine. I actually want you to see you in these experiences because this is your everyday. This is your real life. And I think when it comes back to Alyssa, what you said about, you know, there's this like way that they're wanting us to be, it has to be separate. That's corporate America every day, all day. And that is not what we're about. And it's like, to me, sometimes I feel like in the spirituality space, like, yeah, we're saying, you know, create your own, do this, do that, but we're still falling into these like same structures. And that's where, you know, people like us, we have to like see it for what it is and like make that change.
Absolutely. I mean, we even see that with like religion, right? How even in the spirituality realm, I don't know how you guys feel about this. Hopefully I'm not like poking a bear, but there's this whole view of you have to be in the 5D and only a few of us are ever going to make it. I'm like, this sounds like Christianity, like all over again. What is happening? I thought we were getting away from that. No, you know, if you're a Christian, that's fine. But like for me, that didn't work for me. And my whole venture into spirituality was healing the, you know, religious unconscious wounds that I have. And then going back in and seeing it just repeated, I was like, ugh, I don't like this.
Well, and whenever I went through, someone was teaching me Qigong for, I think, 5 to 10 sessions. I don't remember how long it was. And a lot of the times my husband was gone through the day. And so it was like at a certain time where I knew my little one would be napping. And so I was like trying to get my other boys, y'all just be quiet during this time kind of thing. And I would get so frustrated because I had my journey is different from all of y'all from the sense of like, I had 3 boys and then my 2 miscarriages are what propelled me into it. And so like all of the work I did was right in the middle of my kids and like trying to figure that out and like realize I don't, I had the point where I was like, I don't like my kids. I don't like my son. I don't like what I'm, all this. And, how can I shift that? Because this isn't supposed to be my relationship with them. And so I would try to remember as I'm going through Qigong of like, being very calm and just being in your body and that kind of thing. And I would walk off and be like, y'all need to be quiet, whatever it was. Not really quiet, but like just don't wake the baby and like that kind of stuff. And the person teaching me would make a comment of like, we'll bring Qigong with you. And I was like, okay. And I didn't realize until later that she literally meant like the energy, the calmness, the peace as I'm handling the kids. It was like 2 separate things for me. Here's Qigong, yoga, whatever, meditation, and here's my life. And blending those together was just foreign. And I was like, I don't know how to do that. Versus, okay, my Qigong is being in the moment and just, hey, let's just take a breath. Let's just really feel out what's going on right here, right? And I think that it's so easy to separate spirituality like that. Here's where we are. Here's our family. Here's our, daily life. And then when we bring it together, it just teaches us even more patience with ourselves, I feel like.
Yeah,
that's what I want to see more of. I want to see more integration so badly. And I try every day, but it's like, it's foreign. We're in this realm where people aren't sharing how to do that. We hear people talking about it, but we're not seeing the embodiment of it. And so it's, none of us know what the fuck we're doing, but we're just going to wing it and figure it out as we go and just live in our fullest expression. And I really love that. And I have to share some gratitude for both of you. I'm so grateful. I know, Lauren, we're just meeting really, truly. And I just am so grateful that both of you are in my life, that I have examples to look at of embodiment of being a parent, being a spiritual person, and just a full expression of yourself. It's just really beautiful.
Hell, Lauren's nursing a child on a podcast. Like that would be entirely like destigmatized. You can't do this. That's not okay. That, even just having your child in front of it, right? Like that would just be so not professional. But I know, right? But in reality, it's like, no, this is my life. We're just going through the motions. And I love when I do see your videos of that, like, hey, that reminds me, I can't do it because I get too distracted. I feel like, and we also don't show our kids on social media either, on the internet. And so I appreciate seeing that for other people when they are able to show up that way.
Yeah, thanks for saying that. It's a big decision, like on whether or not to show your child on social media and, how to go about that. It's also new. But yeah, I mean, she's been on calls with me since she was born, and it's just the way it is. And she's what do they call it? Like a barnacle baby. I don't really have a choice.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's really interesting. I want to go back to Alyssa. You were talking about like the integration piece. It's such an important thing to talk about, especially among like quote unquote spiritual people, especially anyone who's a teacher or who's like has a platform. Like I think we've all known people who present in a specific way, and then if they're not on camera or they're behind closed doors, they're an asshole.
Among other things, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, and like why? Like who is that serving? And I know for me, like, not that I'm gonna show every messy moment or something like that, but to like kind of show my process while I'm working through it and like never present as perfect or as somebody who like knows more than everybody else. Like that's really important to me.
There's a difference, I think, between showing the messy moments of, here's I'm making mistakes, here's where I'm doing this. And then to me, when it comes to kids, showing my kids throwing tantrums and that kind of stuff. Like, I think it's important for the kids have their space to do that. But then also, like, we can talk about it versus, like, you know, using my kid as an example, or even just me and what I'm going through. Oh, I'm crying these tears. Here's my, you know, video of this to show this, right? Versus, you know what, I can talk about this without actually having a video of me in a breakdown.
In that moment.
In that moment, right? That's okay. To actually it's still valid. Like, I don't have to show you proof of every single thing that goes through it.
Yeah, I think
I was gonna say, I don't want to show videos of my daughter like having breakdowns or difficult moments because, like, that's one, I'm not a parenting page, but two, like, to me that's private. And can we talk about it? Yeah, but I don't really have her consent to
we don't know how the media is going to be used later on when they're older. Like, all the stuff they have for them. I feel like people are going to be able to access so much when our kids are, you know, at that older age. Is so interesting to think about.
Also, we're circling back again. But I want to go back to your talk about, people who are highly regarded and have these large platforms who do not live in alignment with their authenticity. Really, it's a wound for me right now. And I don't understand it, because I feel like when I have to, even just showing up for work and putting on a facade when I was in the corporate world and having to show up as a different person, my body was physically rejecting that because I wasn't living in my fullest expression. And we wonder why there's so much pain and discomfort and dis-ease, because we have so many different people that are compartmentalizing parent, work, spirituality, and not integrating into one person. But also, like you said, what is the point of putting on that facade? Like, you are literally hurting yourself and others through that process. I don't know. Those are my thoughts on that.
I don't know. Likes are powerful.
And I also think sometimes, like, when you go through a process, it's really easy, especially, you know, I'm not there, right? I'm just, like, kind of new into this space, but I feel like when you go through a process and you're creating,
let's not minimize your experience. Let's rephrase that. You are allowed to be in this space and stand in your sovereignty.
All right, this is what I'm doing. When you are in this space, you're creating and you're, you know, doing all of these things, you know, and not that spirituality is new. It's not new, but, like, it feels a bit new now, I guess, in a way. You get to almost, like, lose yourself. And I feel like if you don't find groundedness, it's very easy to lose the core of who you are. And I feel like sometimes, like, when you get in, what am I trying to say? Hold on one moment. Let me just pull it all together. When you get in a space where you have the likes and you have the follows and you have all these things and you've been doing these things to, I don't know, like, put on a show, you forget who you are. And I think that's where it can come from, this, like, translation of, like, who someone really is, but what they're presenting. So I was talking to Lauren about this the other day. I feel like if we come across that, it's our job to, like, see it and notice it and, like, make sure we know this is not what we want for ourselves. This is not what we want to do going forward. I think sometimes we come across lessons and see things for our own personal growth, so we know where we are and what we want to do or not do.
Well, millennials were taught to be perfect, right? That's kind of our MO as kids, and that grew up into Instagram and social media. And this is the perfectly preserved, you know, those squares that are just so perfect on there. And I think they're gorgeous. I love them. I can't do it, but I love it.
We tried to do it for a while, and it just was too much work.
The generation behind us is like, fuck that. No, I don't want that. That's so stupid. Why would you show up like that? That's not how you really are, right? And they're breaking that paradigm. And then our kids, you know, that are basically Gen Alphas are like, whatever, who cares? But, like, you look, you see the TikTok, you see the Instagram stuff now where they don't want this perfect curated person. They can tell you're fake, especially whenever, like, a little slip happens and they've been fooled. And they call them, like, honey badgers is what the phrase is. They're honey badgers.
I've never heard this. You're teaching me new things.
I've heard this phrase, but I didn't know what this meant.
So it's like on TikTok. So, for example, Being a honey badger is whenever they we'll say outlawed, the Supreme Court got rid of the abortion ban, like, or whatever it was, the abortion stuff. And people were like going in and finding their street addresses and giving that out with like their social security card or whatever, something so that people could like send them just tons of mail or send like use their stuff or whatever. It's like honey badgers, where this next generation is like, no, we do not agree. We do not consent to this. And we will fuck you up until you realize it. Like they have no issues going through the throat immediately.
It's funny. It's interesting to see how that evolution essentially is happening, because I think it's, universe, Gaia, Mother Nature trying to correct itself, because it sees that's what we need right now, because the world's in fucking chaos, and we're in a point where things are going to get worse before they get better, because we have to pull out and show all the shit that's happening behind the scenes and be like, this is not okay. I see you. I see what you're doing. And now I'm going to show the world.
My husband sent me a text. I didn't respond to him. I love him. He sent me a text that I really liked that said, my wife said to me one time, it was something around my phone. Let me just read it because I'm not a good paraphraser. I just told my wife, I'm sorry we have to raise children in these dystopian times. She recalled a quote she just read today. Never feel sorry for raising dragon slayers in a time there are actual dragons. I get chills just reading that. Like, it's just, yeah, that's true. We get so frustrated sometimes at everything we're going through, but our kids are going to be so fucking strong. They're going to know how to deal with their emotions, love on others, and fuck stuff up. Like my husband tells our second son, who's a lover, not a fighter, and our oldest too, you don't have to fight. But be strong enough to make sure nobody fights you. That when they do, you mess them up and they don't come back. But you can still be a lover, right? You don't go for fights, but you do protect yourself. You are able to be that person.
Love that.
That was my tangent.
We all get 3 tangents today. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, I think this is a great transition for us to ask our question.
Yeah.
Let's
to
do
you
it.
two. Okay. I'll start with you, Alyssa. Alyssa, what does spirituality mean to you?
And I knew this question was coming, and I don't know how to answer it, but it's such a, I feel like for me, it's a mixed relationship because of what I talked about earlier is the intertwined religious trauma that I have. But when we take that out of the equation, I feel like spirituality is this realm to step into your fullest expression of yourself, while also learning what your relationship with the universe or higher being, whatever you believe in, looks like without the expectations that others put on you. So like my relationship with universe, Gaia, higher being doesn't have to look like Rashida's relationship or Lauren's relationship. I can express my love in a way that's authentic to me. And it's this whole journey of peeling back those layers of stories and should-bes to find out what that relationship will actually look like. So I would say spirituality is a journey in short. Yeah.
I love that so much. And very similar to mine when I said that too. I really do feel like it's an individual journey. That's why Lauren and I love asking this question, because not one is the same.
Yeah.
It's not. I mean, Tara and I talk about that all the time. Like, while we get along and we have a lot of things in common, we live very different lives.
We do.
And our spirituality is very different. That doesn't mean we can't have these conversations and get deep with it.
And I appreciate you kind of answering that in regards as well to early like religious trauma, because it's kind of hard to untangle spirituality from religion, and then to like,
I used to put it all in a box. I was like, I'm never fucking touching this. No, thank you.
Yeah, I went through my own journey with that, like figuring out like, okay, what is my spiritual relationship? Because I believe in something, but it's not what I've been taught, or it's not what I've been taught in that specific way or context. And Yeah, and then like once you get into spirituality, like people seek community. It's an important part of being human, but then the communities start forming like religion basically because of
They do.
that's the environment that we're around. So like we start forming these rules and then like you got to believe this or believe that when like truly it is this individual connection to the divine that sheds light on the fact that we are all connected, but it's like, how do we do this and like not fuck each other up?
And that's
Truth.
where the work is.
Yeah. Well, because I think it comes down to being really confident in yourself. And so you can still see what others believe and how their relationship with a higher being looks like without it attacking or feeling it like an attack on your own relationship with it. And I think that's where a lot of the hate is coming from right now, is because people are living their life and they see somebody living their life differently and they feel like that's an attack on who they are as a person. And it's like, no, we're all just trying to live a human experience and be happy. I'm not trying to change your beliefs. You don't need to try to change mine, but we can still exist together and have these conversations and grow together. We can still have community and not believe all of the exact same things. And I think people forget that. They think that this community needs to be what we were taught, like an organized religion. We all need to go to church, or we all need to have this gathering with this one goal in mind or common belief, but it doesn't have to be that. I don't know. I'm all down for let's have a bonfire and dance underneath the full moon and we can all celebrate in our own ways.
That sounds good to me.
Yeah, let's do it.
Clothes are optional too.
I was going to say naked, but I know not everybody's comfortable with that, but I'm also okay with being naked in the full moon.
All right, Tara, how about you, love? What is spirituality to you?
I definitely agree with Alyssa in some respects with it. And I also think, whenever you're coming, I like to say jumping trains with the religion to spirituality, because in the beginning you think it's different. You think that you're doing something totally different and new, and it's just, exciting. And then you look at it and you're like, I'm on the same railroad, just a different train, right? They're just side by side. Because I got so stuck up in like, it had to be this way, this way, this way, this way, because that's what I was taught. And that's what I felt comfortable with. Going off on your own is scary. Figuring out exactly what you want to believe without having like someone tell you, yes, that's right. Yes, you're so true. It's terrifying, especially when you've been conditioned that, this is what you believe, period. And you're wrong if you do not believe this. And so my point now is that I have conversations with people who believe drastically different things, and I can have it on their level, which doesn't mean lower than me, it just means whatever their level is, and use the same words as them and be entirely truthful in everything I'm saying, because I believe everything is just one, right? And that I can, and I also have, I think it's called, I don't know if it's crone energy. There's a type of archetype where you basically are able to look at things and not see good or bad. See how they just play out. And I feel like that's what my spirituality has come to, of like, I see the beauty of, a friend who's near to me, like in our neighborhood, who's a Christian, and how she just truly acts like a Christian should, like an actual Christian, right? And then the other side, I see, someone who believes in Norse mythology and is just all into that, and like how kind they are, right? So I see just all these different parts and how they're all true in some respects, and able to just like hold each of them and not feel like anyone's less than or anyone is lying. Like it can be true to you, and that's okay. So very much similar to Alyssa.
I feel like everybody's religion and spirituality is like, our arrows are pointing to the same higher being, but we're so busy, like our arrow is better than yours, that we don't even like come to this consensus of, oh, my relationship or my direction to that connection is just different from you, but it's the same connection.
Mine's shinier.
Yeah, mine sparkles.
I love that. And Tara, thank you so much for talking about, even like the religion aspect too, because for me, like coming into my spiritual awakening, I felt like I was like denouncing God. And if I got it wrong, I was going to go to hell. And then like, that was like the crux
so
of
heavy.
like, yeah. And it was like, I should not feel like this. I should not feel like this. And I mean, I was torn. Like, I was like torn. Like, am I like not even like thinking about it, but not thinking about it because, you know, God knows. Like, he's going to know if you're like saying the wrong thing, right? Or thinking badly or what have you. And that to me was like one of the catalysts as well to like really like step into like what I felt the divine was for me and what I wanted that relationship to look like, because I did not want to feel
I don't know where
judged.
that is.
I didn't want to feel like I was damned. Like, why do we want it? Why do we want that? So that's thing, where I stepped out of.
I was so scared to fully love my husband. So scared in the sense of like loving, when I say of like, you know, they say put God first in your relationship, right? And if you're putting your husband above God, if you're worshiping, whatever, then, you know, God will take that away from you. And so I was terrified to love my husband too much, that he would be taken away, to love my kids too much. You know, something would happen to level me at the playing field that I shouldn't have, you know, given that much or whatever. And I quickly realized that by loving them that much and myself, right, adding myself into that equation, because I wasn't even in the equation in the beginning, loving myself and those dear to me that much was honoring God, was honoring the universe. And like truly just seeing, you know, the spark in each of us. And that's a huge thing we teach with our kids is, you know, there's not good and evil in the sense. And even then I have like the little grayness in the back of like, oh, but there's evil here, you know, like I see each little thing. But I tell the boys, you know, when a person does something good, that doesn't make them a good person, because they can still do something that is quote unquote bad. That also doesn't make them a bad person. We are just people and our actions are individual. They do show who we are, but that doesn't mean we're entirely, you know, one thing. We fit into this, like,
right.
we fit into this huge different boxes.
Change and growth and expansion. And I also don't understand, what is this like fear conditioning that is so ingrained in our society? When we talk about Christianity, we're talking about your fear of hell. You know what it reminded me of? Santa Claus. He sees what you're doing. He sees, you know, if you're good or bad, if you're going to get coal or presents. Like even from the time of infancy, we're like conditioned to fear every decision that we make and question our intention behind it versus just being present in the moment. And I think that's where a lot of the transition from childhood and adolescence to an adult happens. I don't even know if that's the right languaging for it, but of that, oh, I have to question, I can't be present in this moment. Am I doing this right? And they start to question and be aware instead of just being present and in the moment. And it shakes me to my core. And I really want my kids to be children as long as they can. And it's just like, how can we raise them to be prepared for this society and not raise them to have the, like, how do you raise them to be aware of the fear tactics without also raising them in the fear tactics, you know?
Yeah, that's a really tough question. I think, you know, obviously the fear tactics they prime us to like submit to authoritarian rule, whether it's through religion or government or whatever it might be.
Or even in the way we're taught to parent.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or even marketing yourself, right? The whole fear within marketing.
Yeah.
Like
I hate it. Like, you have to put a time limit and you have to like rush people to buy.
Like being spiritual and being like, but we are manifesting this amount. Like,
yeah, it's all
go
really
get a credit card.
You know, all this conversation is really bringing home for me that like dogma in any form really removes us from our intuitions and our hearts. So for me, spirituality is like releasing all of that dogma, whether it's societal dogma, religious dogma, whatever it might be, and like tuning into like what is here for me right now. And Alyssa, as you were saying, it's being present. I think like really teaching our children those tools on like how to be present, how to hear and follow their intuition, and how it's just totally fine to be who they are. Like those are all ways that they can like survive and thrive in this society that wants the opposite.
Very much so. And there's this, my oldest son is 9 years old, and thankfully he has other boys who are older than him around because he's always the oldest. And well, one, it's interesting seeing how different he is from them in the sense of like, he loves being outdoors, but he's not an outdoorsy, like go run and do sports and go climb trees and like that kind of guy. He wants to take his book outside and listen to it and like read it. And then his brother's the one that goes and climbs and stuff. But they have two friends, one who's 10 and one who's 11. And the 11-year-old has already jumped, for other reasons as well, jumped past the childhood now. And like, so the other ones will go and like play and like, oh, it's coming as this is World War 15. No, they're in World War 20 right now. Ah, and like they're fighting. He got me. And the other kid is like, there's nothing there. What are you doing? And he used to play that. Like he used to see it. And it's just, I see that transition now, and I would love for mine to stay longer in their childhood. Also, that's not entirely possible sometimes, you know, but it's interesting seeing that, and like actually like literally seeing that moment when a child has like lost their childhood in some ways, not in a negative way, but it's just they see it as the world is, they've been told to see it, I guess.
Yeah.
It's like a deep desire to fit into like present as an adult
and not look a certain way and not be looked at as a child.
Yeah.
You know, Macy has this Catboy outfit that she wears, and now
I love it.
She loves Catboy, like it's a thing. I have to hide it from time to time. But she puts her little hood on, has a little eye cutouts, and she's like, "Mommy, I feel like this is real." And I'm like, Macy, if you think it's real, it's real. And so it's like encouraging these things for as long as we can. So Tara, I feel that, because I don't want, hopefully there are no children listening. I was watching kids this past week. I was outside of my home, and the youngest one was 7 years old. And he happened to tell Macy that there was no such thing as the SC. And I looked at him like, dude, what are you even doing? And it was just like this random thought. And I felt like he had to say it so she knew that he was like older or not a baby.
And also, if my childhood has been taken away from me, I'm taking yours away too. It's only fair, right?
It's,
like that.
It was crazy. Luckily, she was just like looking out the window and didn't pay it any mind. But it's like, you know, and I think too, like, it's our job that if, you know, if our children come to those points, that we still talk to them about the importance of allowing other children to still, you know, believe as well.
Yeah, my 9-year-old came to me because he's enjoying playing Legend of Zelda right now, and that is just his thing. Him and his brother, but he has a bigger imagination than his other brother in some ways. The other brother has more like can manifest shit out of thin air, magical thing. But his is like, I'm this person, because he reads and is just so into the story. And so even as 9 years old, he looked at me the other day and was like, Mom, I'm Link. I really believe I'm Link. And I was like, okay, you go be Link. You go do that. He just still has this is who because he's in those characters, and this is so much of who he is. And I think it's so beautiful. I will circle back to Santa Claus. I heard this thing of like, you know how there's like the elf on the shelf? We don't do Santa or elf on the shelf.
Elf on the shelf creeps me out.
And somebody said that it was basically a fairy who got a good deal for watching because they got in everybody's homes. And so now that there's a fairy who's implanted in people's
elf on the
homes.
shelf came out of nowhere. I feel like it was never talked about. And then all of a sudden everybody's doing it. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
It's
like
a fairy
it's been happening
that was
for years.
Honor me.
I can't do it. I can't keep up with it. Elf would be in the same spot. He wouldn't move. So
He's sleeping this time around. He's really tired.
for days, he'd be in the same spot. So that's one thing we will not be adopting.
Also, he's like essentially a spy camera or he's like a narc for Santa. Like,
it's a little. It's a little weird.
Yeah.
To each their own, no judgment.
I'm the kind of person that we don't lie to our kids, and I also will never want to use something else as discipline. Like, oh, well, your toy will get taken away because of Santa Claus if you don't listen. No, it's like, dude, listen to me, or you're just going to get in trouble in general, or whatever. Like that's me as a parent. It's not an outside source that's going to come parent my kids.
Yeah.
Especially with the lying, like we just don't lie at all to our kids.
And this is why
so I think that's where we can separate the action from the celebration of the individual. Like for us, we do Santa Claus, and it's more of a celebration of your existence, not taking it away or using it as a threat to take away your gift, because we're still going to celebrate you on Christmas or on Yule. We do Yule. And I don't know. I don't have it in my heart to be like, oh, Santa's going to come for you. I just... can't do it.
Yeah, we haven't decided yet with Gemma. She's 2, so it hasn't really been a thing yet. She's seen like shows with Santa. But it's precisely why like it's been so interesting and cool and fun to dive more into like the earth-based traditions and follow the wheel of the year, because these are like traditions and holidays that have nothing to do with like any of that. And we celebrate nature, and we're developing traditions around that, and that's definitely not how I grew up. Okay, I'll kiss you. She's really into owies right now and getting kissed. All better. I digress. Anyway, it just feels so wholesome, and it also feels like it's connecting them with nature instead of, I don't want to say instead of fantasy, but like it's connecting them with like the real magic of life.
Yeah.
Well, and keeping it alive too. I think that's so important. That's one thing, because I'm also trying to figure out what rituals look like with the Wheel of the Year, because none of us were raised like that. So it's like another thing that we're just winging it.
I've recently learned too of like how the Wheel of the Year, and Alyssa and I chatted about this, of how not all of them are one heritage. They're not all Celtic. They're not all Norse. They're mixed up. And so I've been following this Celtic shaman who goes in through and like actually talks of Beltane, how it isn't the beginning like we thought, like it isn't the beginning of May. I think it's actually later on, based on actual Celtic traditions. And so I'm looking at, she has a book that's coming out at the end of the year that I want to grab, that's actually about, I don't know if it's the real Celtic Wheel of the Year kind of thing, or how it looks. But I mean, there are many times, like you said, Lauren, with fantasy, where my son's like, it wouldn't be so cool if magic was real. And I was like, magic is real. It is. Well, yeah, but I mean, like, where you see it, and I'm like, you do. And so it's tying in like the fantasy that he has with the real world magic and bridging those two, because that's where you easily lose the magic of childhood, is when you think this is all just fantasy. It's just all over here and we're over here, versus how to bring them together.
So in a way, it reconnects us with our inner child and our relationship with magic. I love that. Also, I have to show this to you guys since we're talking about magic. I have made this crystal bowl with intention of balancing masculine and feminine energy. And it's malachite chips, selenite, and then I have a moonstone and a sunstone.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It's awesome.
Ooh.
It sits on my work desk.
It almost looks like a pretty Easter basket, at least on the camera.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
What's the big one in the middle?
Clear quartz, and I think these are angel lights or something.
Because the clear quartz looks almost green with like all the extra green.
Oh, because of the malachite chips. Yeah. I don't know why I wanted to share that, but we're talking about magic, and it makes me really happy.
Well, and one thing that kind of like goes back to how we're talking about with influencers, or other people who are maybe not embodying as much as what we would like them to see, or like to see as we're looking for leaders and stuff, is I still feel like there's this mentality of I know better, I do better, etc., and then looking down on someone else who's doing the same thing and judging them for it. Whereas, like, I found out y'all had a podcast, and I was like, ooh, that's awesome. It's like me and Alyssa, with them, and we should just
they're so excited. But a lot of people view that as like a competition. I'm like, no, this is amazing.
because like we talk about similar things, but also very different. And so to me, that's like, yes, how can I like root them on? How can I cheer them on and just lift them up? And that's so big versus, well, I'm just gonna like tear them down because, you know, if they're there, there's not enough food for me. There's not enough money for me. Like,
yeah, I've seen that here in my community too, because I wanted to learn. I'm a Reiki master, but I wanted to learn. I learned online because when I went locally to find people in person to learn Reiki, it was very much this I don't want competition and I don't want to teach people kind of vibe. And it was just like, oh, not for me, thanks.
But you can't have that's the thing that kills me. You can't have everybody. You can't do everything. Like, I'm a massage therapist. I've been massaging for 11 years and I don't even advertise. Yeah. And even now in this stage of my life, I have more work than I know what to do with. And it's one of those things when we okay, first off, like to talk about this, let's open this up. Let's peel back some layers.
Yes.
Because where it starts is you. If you are in that mindset of sister can't be at this table because there's not enough room for all of us, then you have to look at yourself. You know, you have to look at yourself and say, why do I feel that way? Why do I not want a fellow femme
fear conditioning
at the table? Right. So then you have to remove those layers around yourself, because that's when you can have the mindset that Tara is talking about, like, ooh, yes, they have a podcast too. How can we collaborate? How can we talk? How can we like lift each other up? I know for me, like, it was when I stepped in this space, when I realized like what my triggers were, because sometimes in a way I kind of felt some type of way sometimes, like in the beginning. And I was like, why do I even feel like that? What does it even matter? What does it matter? And it was like, it had to do with me and how I was raised and what I was taught. Like, I love my mom to death, but I started doing yo massage and I wanted to do it in my community. And my mom's like, well, don't tell people what you're doing. And I'm like, why? Because they might want to do it too. Well, then let them do it.
Yeah.
Like, there is enough for all of us. So we have to look at ourselves, one, and then two, like, becoming a coach. I had a friend that said, oh, it's saturated. Like, there's so many coaches out there. You're not going to be able to do anything. And it almost got me. But the call was like a lot stronger, right? So I feel sad for people who let good, meaningful people talk them out of things that they feel called to do. But you realize, like, as a coach, your style, like, Lauren, are all of us coaches here? I want to say almost all of us are coaches here. Not Tara. Okay. The three of us are kind of, yeah, in a way.
You're a coach. You coach me all the time.
Okay, yeah.
We're all coaches here, and we all have a different vibe. Like,
completely different.
Completely different. Someone who's going to go to Lauren might not necessarily want to come to me. Someone who wants to go to you, Alyssa, might not necessarily want to go to Tara. And when we like realize that there is enough space for all of us, and that by supporting each other and cheering each other on, it creates more space, more network and opportunity for us to like really do this thing that we want to do. Like, that's where the magic happens. Right?
When we talk about raising the vibration of the fucking planet, this is it, right?
Yes.
Here.
Hey, I don't know this one thing. I will send you to Alyssa. I'll send you to whoever else that does know it. I don't know this. Do you want me to say I don't know anybody who doesn't, just so you're like, my client, my friend isn't getting the help, the love they deserve? That's, you're right in saying it. You have to look at yourself, because it goes up against the imposter syndrome as well. And that's very much because you're judging others, so you're scared someone's going to judge you back. You're not feeling enough to, compete with that. And so you're attacking because you're not feeling enough.
Yeah, Tara, that's exactly it. Like, I think it just comes down to this deep feeling of not enoughness within like the self. And then like, we don't see the abundance around us too. Yeah, it reminds me like, so my husband has a taco restaurant here in Kansas City, and it's awesome. And there was another like kind of similar vibed restaurant going up a couple miles from him, which in the city is kind of a long way, a few years ago. And he started getting kind of nervous about it. And I'm like, dude, like, worry about yourself. Like, in that sort of industry, they're probably not going to collaborate on things, like we can as coaches. But I'm like, just trust that your shit is so good. Like, another taco restaurant coming up doesn't mean that people aren't going to come see you. And like, people have to eat, and they have to eat several times a day. You know, nobody has to get coaching. Like, and he's like,
but they should.
Yeah. And he's like, yeah, you're right. But like, you know, I think living in a capitalist society, scarcity is such a part of it. And then that drives competition. And that's like inherently what we know of business. But I think as people kind of stepping into a new realm of business, let's say, being coaches, and into like a more intuitive, heart and soul led way of doing things, we have the choice to like really be conscious about whether or not we're going to buy into that bullshit. And to like recognize it when it comes up, because it will.
Well, you know, with you being an author as well, it reminds me of when you're going down that journey, whether you're traditionally publishing or self-publishing or whatever, you have to come to terms with what success means to you. You know,
that's a big one.
And
success
that's in any,
and failure.
And in any field, I feel like it is specifically when me. That's where I was going through. It was through writing, but it's in any field, right? Like, because success was like best-selling author, and then I had to realize, no, success was I finished my book. The next success was I published it. Like, that was huge. I finished a book. Who else can say they've put that amount of time into just having a rough draft, or even to just, you know, going those extra steps, or to just sending it out to other people so that I can traditionally publish? Like, those are big steps. That is success. The success that we typically see is, you know, these multimillionaires, the ones who are best-selling authors, and they are fabulous. No hate towards them, because they've done the work, right? But also, I'm going to rejoice on those small steps, because that is still success to me.
Well, I feel like that's where the juice is too. If we only celebrate in these big moments, how are we going to get there? You know what I mean? We need to be in the moment. We need to be present. We need to celebrate the baby steps that we are taking, because that is where the progress happens, not these like random leaps that we think are going to happen out of nowhere. That's not where it is. It's looking down at your feet and seeing every single intentional step that you're making and celebrating that.
Rashida and I were like just talking about this the other day. It's like, how do you keep showing up? And like, if something you're manifesting, for instance, like if you don't enjoy the process or like get the juice out of the process, like why are you manifesting that thing? Is that truly like what aligned with your soul, or is it just an ego thing? Like, it's great to think about.
Well, and then
having
people get frustrated when the universe provides, and you're like, "This is not what I want," and you get mad about it. But it's what you asked for.
Or when you change your mind, you're going through it, realizing I don't enjoy this. I'm gonna stop. And do something I do enjoy. And they're like, what? You're a quitter.
You're a quitter. Oh, gosh. Heaven forbid I stop something.
And it's like, no, I didn't enjoy it. And even if because we did an episode with our VA who was very successful making cookies. Like, she did it during the pandemic, and was like making a lot of money. I think she did. You know, was very successful. It was hurting her back, bending over doing this, and her body was just hurting. And so she decided to step away and become an author. And a lot of people were like, what are you doing? You're successful. And she's like, it hurts. Like, I'm physically hurting my body.
Pain,
I'm not, no. And she's happy, you know, being a successful self-published author, because that was what was working for her, you know? And we're so scared of change. In reality, we're supposed to change.
We are creatures of change.
So, to wrap this up, and I want to hear from all of us, what are you doing in your business right now? What are you celebrating, and how can people find you? Because we are all coaches or authors and have things going on, and I want to hear how I can support you. I want our audience to hear how they can support you, and I also want to hear how you're celebrating yourself.
Before you do, really quickly, because we do a challenge for every episode, and the challenge for this week is to go celebrate something for yourself. Go find something small and celebrate it. Okay, now go.
Well, I guess you're first, Tara.
Okay. What was the question? What we're celebrating?
What are you celebrating? What's going on in your business?
I'm celebrating finishing up my almost final edits of book 2. and getting
which
other
you need
books.
to give me. I need to read. I read the first one. It's so good. I need more.
It's coming. And just getting the others out there, because I have huge goals for 2024. And I'm trying to just get as much time as I can in between, while also realizing my full-time job is homeschooling and parenting my kids, and not trying to push that, like, okay, let's rush through it. That's what I'm celebrating this week, is really stepping into, it's okay that this takes 3 hours for homeschool. That's okay. And I'm tired and I didn't get any editing done or writing done. That's okay, because I will have that flow of when I will be able to. So I'm celebrating just the realization of when I can fit things in and flowing with my own schedule. That's going to change in 2 months because I have a baby. Just flowing within life.
Well, and I love how when you have the energy, you get in it and you can just feel the joy. Like, I wrote my book today and I finished my edits. You call me and you're so excited because you're leaning into that energy when you have it versus forcing it. And I've seen a total shift in your relationship with your book.
That's the manifester. Someone posted a manifester thing up that was like, someone was like, yeah, we all need rest. Yours isn't that big. And like, manifestors resting after like 8 months. And it's like, yeah. Like I go hard and then I'm like, okay, I'm done.
Boop. Take a rest.
For like a good few months.
Tell us the name of your books and the projects you're working on.
Discerning Her Shadows is the one that's out that I am currently going back through and re-editing, and that's going to be re-releasing again in December. Disparaging Her Hope is book 2, and that comes out in January of 2024. The next one should be, it's like Reawakening Her Love or Discovering Her Love or something like that. I haven't quite gotten the title. And that'll come out in April of 2024, April, May. And then the 4th one, I don't have the title for quite yet. That'll come out in August of 2024.
And you also have some other great things, like with mermaids and other story side projects going on.
I do.
I'm going to hype you up. I'll be your hype.
I'm writing about mermaids. I want that to come out, 2024 towards the end. But my goal is like, I'm going to write it, but all the other ones I want that series out. I want to quickly release it and just have like the magic and the joy and just all of it, like go. And people are so hyped up and so ready. And I'm hyped up and ready. And then I'm like, I'm going to put this over here and just promote you and be done. Because I love you. It's been 3 years. It will be 3 years. It's been 2. My mind is mentally in 2024. Let's come back to 23.
Oh, don't rush it. I'm not ready.
I know. Because I'm thinking of like all that I want to do. But yeah, no, I have lots of mermaid stuff. Mermaids are coming.
I am Tara Webb. Look that up. We'll have links in the description.
Next.
Rashida, let's hear what you got going on. What are you celebrating?
So it's taken its time, but it's coming through. I'm putting together an 8-week group coaching container, which I'm really excited about. And this will also have a little sprinkle of Lauren in it. So I'm really excited about that coming through and coming to fruition. But currently what I have going on is I am doing purpose readings. I am certified in the soul reading method, and I really enjoy helping people in their purpose. So I'm a coach, I'm a soul purpose coach, but I'm really feeling and digging the readings. So if you are a little bit confused about, where you are, you need some clarity or some direction, or maybe you just want to know if what you're doing is right, I will read your energy and we'll figure that out together.
I'm gonna chat with you after.
All right. I am down, and then local here is like far away, but I'm massage therapist, so I do that as well. I'm a little jack of all trades. So yeah, wherever you want to connect with me, I am really on Instagram, SheetaGirl86, and just DM me. Like I said, I don't really market or do any of those things currently.
Let the universe sprinkle on you.
And they do, they do. I love it. So that's where you can find me and what I offer.
What are you celebrating?
Celebrating.
I know, it
Man,
put you on the spot.
I know. I have so much going on, but I am celebrating. Like I'm just so, I don't know if it's a celebration, but it's just, I'm just so happy about my life, about where I am, about my kids and my house and like my beautiful flowers that are blooming. I'm just like happy. So it's just a celebration of life, I guess. I'm really excited about this time and this moment and just truly being present here. I love my life. So that's celebration enough.
Yes, absolutely. Love it. Lauren, I just ordered your book. Tell me
Thank
more about
you.
it.
Yeah, my book, Embody Your Inner Goddess, a guided journey to radical wholeness. I almost just forgot the name.
That always happens when you get like somebody stops and asks you every time. Yes, I feel that.
It comes out in November, but it's available for pre-order right now. And I have some freebies and things on my website if you pre-order. But truly, it's a lot of my story,
So good.
but it's mixed with spiritual downloads and then more ancient wisdom into like a daily guidebook that lasts 7 weeks. It travels through the chakras, and it's really meant to help you love yourself more than anything else. And yes, like it speaks to feminine energy, but not in like a traditionalist way, in a way that's like, our society is imbalanced, so let's bring some balance within ourselves so that we can bring balance and so many like beautiful good qualities that aren't celebrated right now, but should be into the world. So that comes out in November, and that's really exciting. I am building like a group. I don't know if coaching's the right word, but a group container around it. In the meantime, I lead monthly full moon goddess ceremonies, and they're free, and they're a way to connect with femmes and truly, just like the book, to love oneself and to like see themselves in other people as well, and to work with the magic of the moon. I also have a Sicilian spirit yoga retreat in September, and I have a few spots left for that. And this is a whole other story, but I accidentally signed up for 2023 instead of 2024 for that. I've been leading retreats for a long time, and I like signed the deal in a really busy week, but I think it was meant to happen because I have an amazing group forming, and I love to travel and really love like leading people in that specific type of experience.
Yeah, I'm like, yes,
by
please.
the way, it's this year, not next year. And okay, let's do this.
Like, yeah, I was like, okay. I've never like put one out 4 months before it starts, but let's do it. And yeah, I think it's gonna be really great and just peaceful and awesome. And Gemma will be there with me too. I bring Gemma and my mom on these trips because I can't travel without her just yet on a soul level and on a practical one because she still breastfeeds.
Yeah.
What else do I have going on? Oh, I'm opening up some spaces for one-on-one work. I'm just really missing working with clients in that way right now. I also do readings. Rashida and I love to study together. So we did soul reading method together earlier this year. So what I do are like inner goddess readings. So I see like the feminine aspect of your highest self and read to that and work with them to read the chakras or go into the Akashic records or anything like that. Locally, I have True Love Yoga. That's my donation-based, trauma-informed yoga studio that I've put my heart and soul into for the last 8 years. And I lead our yoga teacher training program as well. We're in process with that right now, but we'll start again next year, which is online and in person. So even if you're not local to Kansas City, you can join us for that. I think that's everything. I don't know. Just go to my website. I've got some fun stuff on there. But I am.
Oh, what's your website?
It's laurenleduc.com. It's LAURENLEDUC. And my Insta is I am Lauren Leduc. And I don't know. I love throwing myself into projects, so I always have something going on.
Love that. What are you celebrating? Did you say?
Not yet.
No, I'm really like feeling along the same lines as Rashida. I think it's so important to like look around and see like look what we've manifested, or look what like I've co-created with the universe. If we don't take the time to celebrate like that, like what's the fucking point? Like, what are we doing? So
I love how you said that, co-creation versus manifesting. Because it's almost like I'm getting this from the universe versus we're doing it together.
Yeah, we are. And like what's aligned will manifest, and what's not won't. But I have like, we live on a beautiful lake and it's summer and we get to like be in the water every day. And I have a marriage I'm really happy about, and the beautiful daughter, and my garden. And, you know, those are the things that I love my work. It's an integrated part of my life, but like, I don't know, home. That's what I'm celebrating right now.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah.
Okay, Alyssa.
My turn. Hi. I'm Alyssa Lilly. Shocker, I know. I am a self-embodiment and cyclical living expert. So I personally work with gender non-conforming people specifically because I'm non-binary, they, them pronouns. And so I want to create an inclusive space where we can learn about our bodies without being misgendered, and we can talk about things like gender dysphoria and other things that we face that maybe cis women or those who identify as women may not have to deal with. So just creating that container. Right now I have a free 2-day mini course on vanquishing your cycle pain. You can go to my website, courageousembodiment.com, and find that there. I also have a 6-month group coaching program that is all about cyclical living and how to even begin to start that journey when you don't align with your bits or don't even know anything about your cycle other than it happens, right? So we go through and how to find a thriving and well state of being. And it's a total mind, body, soul experience, because when we get into cyclical living, it really is unpacking a lot of the trauma around our cycle. It's finding our identity and standing into our fullest expression. I'm currently working on creating other offerings to kind of have different ways to begin your journey into this without committing to a 6-month group coaching program. So soon, keep posted. I'll have some one-on-ones available. I'll have some pre-recorded like intro courses available, and I'm trying to make as much resources as I can to support my community. As far as celebrations, I am celebrating boundaries. I am setting a lot of boundaries in my life right now and realizing where I need to focus my energy and where I don't need to focus my energy. And I'm just really proud of myself for knowing what to let go of and when to let go, even though it's scary as fuck. So that's me.
I'm celebrating all of you.
Yes.
I was just thinking, we do so much, but with like love and purpose. There's
we also
like
both have podcasts. Weaving Magick Podcast,
right?
your Spiritual Bestie Podcast.
And all of it just sounds like it's with purpose, not just to be busy. And I love that. So definitely celebrating all of us as well. Thank you,
homework,
Lauren.
go check everyone out.
Thank you, Lauren and Rashida, for being on this and just collaborating with us and just being open to the experience of each other. Like this was exactly what I needed to fulfill me for the rest of the day. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, well, thank you for having us and thinking about us. And this is Lauren and I's vibe, like just hanging out.
Yeah, we have to do this again.
Like, this is what we love doing. So we appreciate you two so much.
Yeah, and when we have 4, it feels like a party. So
It does.
it's our morning Saturday party, because that's when we're recording this. And it's been so much fun.